Hey guys, and welcome to Cosmic Origins. My name is Jace. This is going to be a fun update. There's a lot of really exciting topics to talk about in this video, including the new financial system, how BRICS nations works into it, how XRP may be essentially backed by gold through the BRICS nation system, what the death of the Queen has to do with all of this, and of course, how the events of September 11th inevitably play into these same themes. But before we get started, I want to say that I've got a brand new training, a free training on cryptocurrency, on establishing sovereignty, security, and profit in this new financial system. So we're quickly moving into this new financial system, and my goal is to prepare as many people as possible for this new system so that we can collectively grow in abundance as we're shifting and not worry about any of the crazy economic things that are going on in the world with the collapse of the old system. And so this training is going to give you a really good understanding of XRP and its role in this new financial system. It's going to give you an understanding about private wallets, which are essentially the safest place that you can keep your money today, aside from holding physical gold and silver, but we're going to talk about that too. And we'll teach you how to generate capital appreciation and passive income through your digital assets and how exactly you can do that. So if you want to sign up for this free training, just go to the link that's down below in the box or join.consciouscrypto.info and you can sign up for that free training. All right, let's jump into it. So you can also follow me on Twitter if you're not following me on Twitter already, and Telegram as well. Those links are down below. The first thing I want to talk about is, of course, today is September 11th, and on September 10th, 2001, there was a very important event that played into a lot of what we're witnessing going on the global financial stage right now. And on September 10th, 2001, the day before the attack on the Twin Towers, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld announced in a press conference that there were $2.3 trillion in assets that were missing from the Pentagon's budget. And this was something that happened really low-key and under the radar. Nobody really knew anything about this at the time. It was not highly publicized. It was just one of those things that was slipped out into the public, that they lost multiple trillions of dollars. And then, of course, over the following years, that number actually rose to estimates around 7 to 9 trillion just about a decade later. Who knows what that's actually at now? Now, this is important because it plays into this idea of Nesara, which was an actual set of legislation introduced in the 1990s by Harvey Francis Bernard. And in this, there were multiple proposals, including replacing income tax with national sales tax, abolishing compound interest on secured loans, returning to a bimetallic currency, 0% inflation, and in general, preparing for a more stable economy. And this was the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, aka Nesara. And so this ties into the events of 9/11 because there were a lot of there was a lot of people that came out that were a part of this that said that this was supposed to go into effect on September 11th, 2001, or right around that time period, and that essentially the attack on the Twin Towers halted that process and completely derailed it. And so, of course, all the other mischief and corruption that went on around the Twin Towers, I know you guys know about, but this is the financial aspect that ties directly into this financial shift. And so it's an interesting resurrection of themes as we're moving into this financial reset and the potential of a new form of Nesara or Jasara, which is the global version of the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. Okay. So next, I want to share with you this quick video from, this is a guy who has a YouTube channel. He's a financial guy. I'm not super familiar with him, but I've seen a couple of his YouTube videos. I think he goes by Rich Dad or something like that on YouTube. But this was a good clip talking about what I want to segue into, which is the BRICS nations and how the BRICS nations, which are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are developing a new global reserve currency that is going to be a very large part of this new quantum financial system that we're moving into. And so let me go ahead and play this and then we'll talk about it.
This guy. Now, Russia is looking to go on to its own gold standard. I think that speaks volumes. Any thoughts to that, Robert?
Yes, well, Andy Scheckman talks a lot about that. He talks about the BRICS. The BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And he talks about how the Belt and Road Project now is going to affect 90% of the world's population, and they'll all be on the CBDC yuan. They'll be going into Chinese crypto, not American. So the US dollar, according to this guy Andy Scheckman, is toast. And that's why it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They're going to take over the world with their own gold standard.
Okay, so he said a few important things there that I want to cover. First off, he talked about the idea of the US dollar being choked and essentially dying. And I think that that is a very prominent theme right now that many people are familiar with, that with the crazy amounts of inflation and the raising of interest rates in the United States, the US dollar has become highly overinflated and quickly moving into a bad position. And this is a key part of the transition into the new financial system because the US dollar is a debt-based note. It also literally has the Illuminati eye on the back of it and what roughly translates to New World Order in Latin, Novus Ordo Seclorum. So this is an energy of a system that we do want to leave behind, and that I think it's good that this is ultimately collapsing. And this doesn't mean the death of a cashless society, this doesn't mean the death of a cash society or moving into a cashless society. In fact, I saw a video today from Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, which we'll get to in a second with XRP, how that plays into this. But he said that it is their vision and foundational understanding that cryptocurrency, aka XRP in this case, is meant to work directly hand in hand with fiat currencies and not seeking to replace them. And so the replacing them would be that cashless society that so many people are worried about, that we've seen potentially going on in China and other places. And so to segue into that, he mentions in this video that we may be moving into a more Chinese digital asset type of economy because of the US collapsing and because China is such a large economy, one of the largest in the world, the largest, I think. And so we're going to see, probably according to him, us moving towards more Chinese based currencies. Now, this is where we have to understand kind of on a bigger picture what the BRICS nation is. So the BRICS are, again, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And they are all led by people that, interesting enough, Donald Trump had a very good relationship with. So this is an interesting note because when talking about this reset and restructuring, we have to understand who the key figures are on either side. And I've often compared this financial reset, what I term the quantum financial reset, to be the equal and opposite of the Klaus Schwab Great Reset that the World Economic Forum is pushing. And even though Ripple is a part of the World Economic Forum, I do believe that they're acting as a Trojan horse in this case and actually infiltrating over invading and seeking to create this change from the inside out of the system rather than trying to face it head on. And so here it says the BRICS are developing a new basket-based reserve currency. So it's going to be gold-backed, copper-backed, silver-backed, precious metal-backed. And this is what Brad Garlinghouse was referring to, where we don't need to completely get rid of that old, fiat kind of base system. We can have fiat that is backed by gold, silver, and, other precious metals. And then XRP is acting as the bridge asset between these currencies in this economic system. So this is where XRP comes into the mix, because XRP is the key to creating liquidity and interoperability in this new financial system that BRICS is going to be such a core structure of. And so people often compare XRP, or they often say that it is gold backed or could be gold backed. And that's one thing that I want to kind of touch on, because I think in general, if you're going to have a gold backed cryptocurrency, you have to ask the question of who's actually backing it, right? It's going to have to be some kind of centralized group that backs any kind of cryptocurrency or digital asset that is directly backed by gold, right? It has to be some kind of centralized group. It has to be either Ripple saying, hey, we've got the reserves, this is going to be backed, which I don't think is very likely. It has to be like the Federal Reserve or some group that actually has the reserves to actually back that currency. And so in that case, I think for decentralization, it's actually important that these not be directly backed, that their worth not be held up upon by a centralized agency. So we don't want to actually see XRP, in my opinion, directly backed by any kind of group, because that determines the value based upon a centralized group who's actually backing the currency. Instead, what we're going to see, and what I actually think is the most optimal situation, is XRP being used as the bridge asset for this new fiat-based system that is gold-backed, that the BRICS nations are building, and that I think the new version of America under our new president, whenever that may happen, is going to end up joining and becoming a part of these set of nations. And we're seeing many, many nations around the world right now apply to be a part of the BRICS nations. And this is becoming a movement that the media is not talking about. And so that tells you something else too. The fact that the media is not discussing it tells you that there's something of substance there that they're trying to hide. So again, to clarify that, we don't need or necessarily even want to see coins like XRP directly backed by gold. But if they are the bridge asset in a system of multiple sets of currencies, from gold to fiat currencies, national currencies, reserve currencies, if it is the bridge that connects every single one of those currencies in an interoperable network, then it doesn't need to be directly backed by a precious metal like gold. It will essentially, in effect, be backed by the value of everything in the system. So you guys got to understand the power of this, because this is not just it being backed by the value of gold. It's being backed by the value of every nation and every part of this system that is using it as the bridge currency, because all of those values rely upon the bridge to interoperate them. And so this is where XRP truly is the key or the backbone of this new financial system. But it is not the one coin to rule them all, like we're seeing with Bitcoin and Ethereum and the crowds behind them trying to make them the new money, for everybody. It's just Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you don't need gold and silver and blah, blah, blah. And that's BS. I think we need a system that has national currencies, that has gold-backed national currencies, that is made liquid through cryptocurrency, in this case XRP, which is going to make the whole thing quantum in effect. And by quantum, it means that any of these values can be moved around the planet instantly in a matter of seconds, whereas in the current day system, we have to wait multiple days for these kind of things to transfer. The quickest way to actually move money is to get on a plane and fly it to your destination. So this is where XRP is really going to solve a lot of these global issues. Okay, coming back to this. I also wanted to point out, Anders here commented beneath this video that the West, according to this graphic at least, I have not confirmed this myself, but the West actually supposedly has the most amount of gold reserves. Now again, I don't know if this is true, because I know that Russia and China have massive amounts of untapped gold that may not be calculated into this, but at the very least, the U.S. does have large gold reserves. That's very likely. And so this is again where I see the future of America under its new leadership, perhaps the restoration of its previous leadership before this administration, joining forces with BRICS and then creating this new global economy that challenges the Great Reset and that whole system that they're trying to move forward on, a cashless society. So just to really show you guys the depth of how the quantum financial system does use physical things. It uses cash if we want to. If we want to use paper notes, great, let's use them. Let's just not use the dollar with the all-seeing eye on it, right? But let's use gold, let's use silver, let's use cryptos that we can spend that gold and silver with and transact it and make it more powerful, rather than the Great Reset, one currency to do everything and you don't get a choice, right? These are the differences. All right, moving on. In this, it also referenced that this was going to challenge the IMF's special drawing right. So I pulled that up real quick. And the special drawing right is a supplementary foreign exchange reserve asset defined and maintained by the IMF. So a lot of people that are in the research of Ripple and XRP, we know that over half or about half the supply of XRP is in an escrow account that can't be fully accessed by Ripple. It's in an escrow, meaning there's rules on how much can be pulled out every month. About half the supply of XRP is in that escrow. And there's been theories on if that escrow would have to be legally turned over to some kind of government agency or international agency, whether it's the Federal Reserve or the IMF, that a lot of people have speculated. And that's where, the IMF is not the greatest figure historically. There's a lot of shadiness there with any of these big institutions. And so the fact that BRICS is presenting an alternative to the IMF system is a really good sign for the future of XRP. And perhaps we will even see that escrow given to the BRICS new system in some way or some format that would benefit the people and the users of the system, which is the majority of the planet when you look at the countries that are in BRICS, right? It's like probably well over 90% of the planet. Okay, so what does the death of the Queen have to do with all this? So I'm sure you guys have heard about this by now, but the death of the Queen put something into operation called Operation London Bridge. This is the plan for what would happen on multiple levels when the Queen died, publicly at least. Behind the scenes, there's probably a lot more going on classified than what we're seeing on the surface. But one of the things that publicly they acknowledge in Operation London Bridge is that the Queen, her face will be removed from all of the currency. So they're going to be reprinting the currency, and it will be reprinted with the King's face. Now, this would be the perfect time to implement a financial reset, because if you're going to go and you're going to reprint all of the currency that is used across the UK and all of the Crown's nations and the Commonwealth, which is like a vast majority of countries on the planet, when you actually look at the Commonwealth and the countries that are legally under the Crown, this is the perfect time to implement a new financial system. And we're seeing all of that, like everything we've just talked about and what the BRICS are doing. It just fits in so nicely that this is a cue marker, a signal for this new system moving forward, and a catalyst at the very least that we're going to start seeing major changes. But I think behind the scenes, this is all part of that plan and the implementation of what we're loosely calling the quantum financial system. All right. I also wanted to talk about this real quick. In quarter 4, so around like November of 2021, there was, if you can see this graphic here, right over here, there was testing for liquidity bridge exploration. Okay, so this is referring to the side chains on XRP that the large financial institutions are using as they're testing XRP, while they're not actually on the main net. But at some point, as David Schwartz, the creator of XRP, has said, these will be merged and there will have to be full operation on the main net. This is kind of just like a testing ground for these banks and financial institutions, governments, to work and learn the new system. And so there was a scheduled liquidity bridge exploration, meaning bridging the liquidity between these side chains and bringing it to the main net and back and forth in quarter 4 of 2021. Well, during that same time period, there was an amazing spike in transaction counts, November 21st, 2021. I remember when this happened, it was, reported upon by people like myself that were watching, but it wasn't something that was ever like big news on any kind of mainstream level, because this is such an underground topic, right? But if you know what to look for, you can piece together the pieces of what's going on. And so when they were testing that liquidity, we saw the transaction count go from what was around 1 million all of a sudden up to over 5 million. And I want to say it was even less than 1 million on average. Let's see.
On a Sunday.
Yeah, I can't see, but I think it was around 1 million on average, and then it went up to 5. Yeah, so there it is, 1,000,6666. And then we shot up to over 5 million, and then spiked back down. So what we were seeing was most likely a physical representation of that liquidity being bridged in that test. And so this is what we talk about when we talk about the flip of the switch, and the idea that Mr. Poole has put out multiple times that this is going to happen overnight, that this is an overnight scenario, this immediate transfer of wealth, the greatest transfer of wealth the planet has ever seen, that will turn everyday people into millionaires and billionaires. But it's not going to be the vast majority of people. It's only going to be the people that have invested in XRP, have had the awareness and the consciousness to see what's happening, and then the courage and the heart to actually act upon it. And this is what's been so amazing about my coaching program and the people that I've seen come through it, because everybody has an amazing idea on what they want to do to change the planet with this intense amount of wealth that is going to be shifted. And it's going to be putting wealth in the hands of people who actually care about the planet. And we're going to see a new class of the 1% that are going to restructure the way that things are done on this planet, in my opinion, and going to bring about a more fair and balanced world and a healed world on multiple levels. And so Mr. Poole has been one of the Ripple Riddlers, as they call them, very similar to 17, that has been posting with confirmations, multiple hints and things along the way of what we're doing. And recently Mr. Poole posted a number of different tweets, including this one that says ready, some stuff that insinuated that things may happen around the US Open. And shout out to my friend King Space here. I know him personally, and he is an amazing Mr. Poole researcher. I recommend following his Twitter here, at KingSpace589. And Mr. Poole actually liked this tweet of his, which said, US Open logo, play concludes 9/11. That's today. Time to burn it down. Prepare your minds. Mr. Poole liked that. And then there was some kind of references to Black Swan events. Mr. Poole in the past had posted these two pictures back to back, and today he reposted this shush picture, which infers the Black Swan is next, if this is a pattern recognition, right? Mr. Poole also posted mute swan, which is a actual type of swan in real life. Here we go, mute swan. And then today posted several pictures of military action. And I think just before I was recording this, actually, let me double check, but posted another little update. Here it is. It just said, enjoy, smiley face. So I think that, you know, with everything else we've talked about during this video, and then taking that into context with what we're seeing Mr. Poole post, obviously take Mr. Poole and every other kind of riddler or cryptic poster out there with a grain of salt, but also take it in context with everything else factual that we're seeing in the world and everything that I've shared with you in this video. So I found that extremely fascinating. Let's go ahead and move on. This is the new iPhone 14 Pro commercial, okay? And this blew my mind. My wife Alexis showed this to me when I woke up. One of the first things I saw when I woke up the other day, and it blew my mind. So I'm not gonna play the actual video much or play the audio because I don't want to get copyright. But if you go to right before 2:40 in the video, they're filming an action shot with the new iPhone, and they show this very strange device that, oh wait, did you see that? What was that? This thing reminds me of the star map in Treasure Planet, that old cartoon movie, if you've ever seen it. But definitely something that is not anything, you know, normally recognizable. But look what happens. They focus, oh snap, they literally shift the focus, and there's the letter, the 17th letter of the alphabet. What are the chances, right? Literally, they show it spinning. They could have stopped on any letter. I think I saw the letter R on there too, but it was blurry. And then all of a sudden, they focus, and it's the letter that we're seeing right there. Isn't that crazy? And to me, this could resemble some kind of quantum computer or something. This whatever this device is. So I find that very interesting because 17 posted that we should be on the lookout for this exact letter in the world, and that it'll help us essentially build the map of what's really going on. So what does that mean? I think it's a good sign for Apple in the direction that Apple is headed. And let's expand upon that, because I think it has to do with Spaceforce and Apple working with Spaceforce as well as Starlink. So if we move a little bit forward in the video, there is a reveal for SOS satellite communications. Okay, so this new iPhone directly connects with satellites, and they show you a little demo of it where he clicks the emergency button, it finds the satellite, it sends it out. Oh, and look, anywhere in the world that there's a satellite connection, which thanks to Starlink is pretty much everywhere now, you can get emergency service. Okay, one, that's cool just because that's cool. I mean, that makes me feel better about being in the middle of nowhere anyway. But what did 17 tell us about the satellites in all those posts? We saw that the satellites were taken over from the 3-letter agencies by the guardians of the Space Force, presumably. And so now we're seeing the largest amount of Starlink satellites that I've seen in this entire past couple years launched. There's been a new Starlink launch, like, it seems like multiple times a week. It's just been crazy, back-to-back launches. And to me, this all fits in with this new system. This is part of this new quantum financial system. And these Starlink satellites, in my opinion, are actual nodes for the XRP ledger and the other quantum assets and quantum networks that we're going to be using. And I think Apple has a direct role to play in that. And just to build on that, in this other video from Apple, this is the main one on their page right now. If you pause at 10 seconds, this is their biggest news from the Apple event. The name of the artist is literally Space Rangers. Now, if that isn't a direct reference to Spaceforce and, you know, calling on that, I don't know what would be, but that's really sly and sneaky. And just as the same way that they put that letter, 17 in there, that's very interesting too. Another thing numerologically is that this entire video is 4 minutes and 20 seconds. And now it's saying 4:19 as I'm doing this, like they changed it, but no doubt I have screenshots. When they first released it, it was 4:20. And that exact moment where that letter appears is at 2:40. So it's a mirror of the 4:20. And who posts about 4:20 all the time? Elon Musk of SpaceX, right? And Starlink. So it's all these references. You got to look at all the clues and bridge them all together and see this network that is being built behind the scenes. Okay. So yeah, fascinating stuff. And then of course, Space Delta 18 and this new intelligence group that recently was publicized about and made public, one of the only groups working with intelligence in the Space Force. And so they serve as the National Space Intelligence Center. So obviously there's an interesting logo with the pharaoh, very, occult. I'm not sure if this is Sirius or Polaris or what, but yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there too. And then finally, as we wrap this up, there's one more thing in this iPhone commercial that is fascinating, which is crash detection. Crash detection. Okay, literally crash detection, right? But what could that be a double meaning for? Maybe the black swan crash event that we've been talking about for so long, okay? So crash detection, but look what else. In the car, on the iPhone, what's that? Can you see the screen on the iPhone? That sure looks like the XRP logo, doesn't it? It's a little bit different, but dang, that's pretty much the XRP logo, just kind of smushed down and together. So they show the XRP logo, they show crash detection. Are they giving us this subtle warning that this crash is coming and that XRP is the chosen one that will survive this crash, that will allow us to, essentially we've detected this crash is already coming because of XRP and all the research that we've been doing and that, I've been sharing on here and so many other people have been diving into. So this is fascinating, and I just thought this was really cool and a cool way to bring everything that we talked about in this video together. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you want to take this stuff to the next level and you actually want to learn how to use this new system, how to implement all of these passive income strategies, and how to actually have sovereign ownership over your wealth in a place where no third party can touch it, no bank, no government, no nobody. It's your wealth, and it is the basis of the new quantum financial system. If you want to learn how to use it, go ahead. You can watch that free training in the link below. Join.consciouscrypto.info. It's about a 45-minute training, and it'll outline everything you need to know to do this on your own. And then I'm here for more help with my coaching program if you want more help. So, pleasure hanging out with you guys today. I hope you found some value and some interesting new information in that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love and peace out.